one of my favorite stories still is Lincoln, when they said to him, they say you're two-faced. If I was two-faced, do you think I'd wear this one? He was an ugly man, but he was full of love and heart. We need to get a driver, and we'll sit in the back seat laughing and joking, and they take us somewhere.
You think, Joe? For the 19th?
There's the Jim Post web page. There's the Jim Post web page.
Illinois, a town of 3,800, tucked away in the north of the state. It's easy to recognize Galena. The architecture is lovely, the scenery breathtaking, the people friendly. You see, in the late 1800s, time forgot about Galena. Progress passed it by. As the mayor says, that's probably the finest thing that ever happened to it. The song being played at Raleigh's restaurant in Galena speaks of a time when life was slow and
God,
so
it was
mellow.
great, wasn't it?
1980s?
Galena townspeople say that time still lives in their town. Mayor Frank Einsweiler puts it this way.
What one might say is that fortunately progress passed us
Is the
by.
mayor?
Galena has a river and hills and lovely 19th century architecture. An ambassador to Belgium lived here. A steamboat captain here. A dry goods merchant here. There is a lot to titillate the eye.
Being an artist, I found out that all you needed was to turn around and there was a vista of something to paint.
That's Edward G. Kelly. Formerly a Chicagoan, he now runs an antique store on Main Street. Not an uncommon occupation in Galena. Main Street curves a mile and a half through town with buildings vintage 1820s through 1850s. They're filled with people who appreciate old ways, old things. A stained glass artist works in what was the town's first metal front building. Just across the street is Carl Johnson's studio. Carl was once a commercial designer in Hinsdale. Then he saw Galena. Now he's painting watercolors of the town that
I've seen
bewitched
lots of
it.
his work.
It's been called the Queen City of the Midwest and one of the last remaining jewels of Victorian architecture and all that kind of stuff. And it's true.
If you want to find out more about Galena's past, Carl will send you to Alfie Miller's house. In the 1930s, Alfie started collecting a few pictures of the town. Now, he has 10,000.
I have never lived anywhere else, so I don't know what another town it would be like as far as, but to me, I've loved it and I want to see it preserved. That's why I've saved all these pictures.
Alfie has pictures of what built Galena, like the lead mines. In fact, the word Galena means lead ore. The town supplied nearly all the country's lead in the mid-1800s. Steamboats built Galena too, hauling lead and other commodities. With the Galena River feeding into the nearby Mississippi, the town was a bustling river
That was
port,
the
the
Itasca.
largest north of St. Louis.
When the French, the Irish, and then learned about the
Miss
mineral
Kitty's.
here, they all came over here to get rich quick. And of course, we were 20,000 people and Chicago was 4 Dearborn. In 1847, there were 45 grocery stores on Main Street and 30 saloons.
Well, the railroads mostly bypassed Galena, and the river started to silt up, and the miners left their lead for gold out west. The town was frozen in time.
Nobody could see any future in Galena. And so they didn't invest any money in Galena. It's probably the finest thing ever happened to it.
The mayor likes to say that Galena's past is its future, and there's a lot of that to bank on. This is U.S. Grant's home. He moved to Galena right before the Civil War. Right after the war, the townspeople gave their hero this house. It was from here Grant campaigned for the presidency. Most of the furniture is original. This is where he slept, where he ate, where his meals were cooked. We're told he liked corn and pork and beans, and the nearer he came to burning up the meat, the better he liked it. State historian Pete Campbell says there's a reason why Galena supplied the North with 9 Civil War generals, Grant included.
They knew the right people at the right time, one being Elihu Washburn, who was our congressman at that time, who was a very powerful political figure in the Republican Party.
If you had peered through this frosty window 90 years ago, you'd have seen the same picture. John Martinson now keeps alive the traditions of the blacksmiths that preceded him in the shop. He bends his steel into everything from weather vanes to sculpture, and is a living history lesson for those who come by.
Here's a
We
Jim
came down as
Post
tourists and visited the town and really liked the town, and then saw the shop and noticed that it wasn't being used. And the old blacksmith's son is still in town here, and he showed us through, and we were very interested in trying to see how blacksmiths would do
Lily's been doing some
in this town,
blacksmithing.
in this time.
Nancy
Like
Emily
Lily
first
Spiegelmeyer.
came as a tourist too.
She's got a new
Now
music
she's written a
going
book
too.
about why her family moved to Galena from Evanston.
Just
She
recently,
found a
huh?
friendliness just as warm and as captivating as the old
I don't
buildings.
know who it's with. It was someone
Every
different, I
commercial
think.
encounter
It was-
is virtually a
It
social
looked like it
encounter
was
as
more
well.
her thing,
You walk in
you
the
know.
bank and the teller says, "Hi Nancy," and you walk in the drugstore and you chat about your children.
Alfie Miller knows what Nancy's talking about.
You make your friends, talk to your neighbors. In Chicago, they tell me they don't know who lives next to them, they don't care. They don't want to know even. See, well, we want to know, and we'd sit on the porch and talk to each other and help each other.
Oh, I think that's what's her name?
You may have noticed the townspeople are partial to this place. None more than Carol
There
Ryan
she is,
Sullivan,
Cheryl.
who was caught in Galena's spell a few years ago.
Huh?
We'll leave you where we
Carol.
began,
Carol?
Raleigh's Restaurant, with Carol Sullivan singing of a town that sounds a lot like hers.
Carol Sullivan
Yeah,
from the art place.
yeah.
Oh my God.
40 years ago.
Do you know who we're talking about?
41 years ago.
I know.
Streets that I can
Wow.
know
That's something.
and places I can go where everybody
When I first came to this town, I was doing so good.
can
She was jealous of me. And then she got where she liked me.
Wow, isn't that nice?
Yeah. That's the thing about this town. You all of a sudden find out somebody that you've been for a long time can do some incredible thing, you know. Like collect pictures
Mayor
on the wall.
Einsweiler says that the trick is to attract tourists to Galena without becoming a tourist trap. As it is now, 85% of the town is considered a National Historic District. That means no building's exterior can be changed without going through City Hall. The mayor says Galena will keep its charm as long as the person in his chair enforces those preservation laws.
Next on 2 on 2, a report on some youngsters who
Wow.
may be building their future with toy bricks.